Let's talk about the truth behind being a film student. So within this industry, the film industry, production itself, holistically, when your priority is school and everything else falls after, then a lot of things it's kind of placed on the back burner. However, the truth is, my name is Ramon Phoenix. I'm an aspiring filmmaker, cinematographer, and director. The desire for me is and will be completely different from anyone else who is watching this, who's desirous of being a filmmaker and is also studying to be within the film industry. This video is specifically for students who are studying film. And I know it goes around where a lot of people say that, oh, you're wasting your time if you go to school for film where you could be a PA and work your way up into the industry. I know that I'll be able to answer that question for you based on my experience. Again, based on my experience thus far within this industry. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about, out of the three things, let me check my phone real quick because that's where it's at. The first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is why it's important to go to film school. So there are three things. When applying for film school, you're weighing in your mind, especially nowadays where people are just in the industry and doing the thing, they're doing it. They're going out, networking with people, talking to people, starting with PA jobs, getting the hands-on experience and so on and so forth, and working their way up the ladder, right? That kind of clouds the judgment and the decision making to go to film school. That was the case for me. I wanted to know and kind of have that structure to then be able to properly pursue the dream that I really wanted. So for me, again, yes, the structure was there. However, I do believe that for some people, you'd be able to segue into film by doing the hands-on. But for persons who aren't as disciplined, who aren't as structured, who kind of do have to or kind of need that structure to be able to get things done, I do recommend film school. If you can really look into the fact that you're in a circle, you're in an environment that holistically develops you to be a better film student, or better yet, to be a better filmmaker with the resources that they do have. Bear in mind, yes, some schools don't necessarily have the resources that you personally want to learn, but it's still you learning and still you having the hands-on experience with a camera, if you don't have one, to then be able to shoot, edit, and produce, if you get what I'm saying. So I do think it's important to go to film school if you don't necessarily have the resources or you aren't able to create the opportunities for yourself. I do think it's important. I think that structure for people and that environment for persons to network is very important as a film student, yes. I think I was talking to one of my lecturers not so long ago. She's also a filmmaker. If you want to be a director, it somewhat makes sense for you to do a master's degree, an MBA in film, right? And specializing in directing, which makes sense because the directing program for your MBA does give you a grade. I do believe so. I think I saw Columbia University in New York. Their curriculum is I think it's good because in directing for that, you're able to pinpoint how to direct actors or how to kind of see the point of view of a film on the actor's perspective. So you're able to now properly manage people and then get the best out of your actors. So I do believe in that case, and you're also learning from certain experts or certain people, because I'm pretty sure these individuals, yes, they're not necessarily filmmakers, but they've been in the field where, yes, this helps. This is on the psychological part. This is how you would get this end result, da 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 da. When you're in the industry and you're doing it by yourself, or a couple of persons are helping you, and you're hitting the ground running, you're learning along the way, which is cool. But if you're able to have that knowledge and then apply the knowledge based on what you've learned within the school system, then I do believe it's important to go. Again, important is a stretch, but I do believe it's important to understand or get the grasp of what the school system is giving you for film, if that makes sense. I think it's important. I think it's important. Pertaining to the bachelor's degree now, that's a different weight in itself. That's a different conversation that we should have. And this is me being very honest with you. In the bachelor's level, based on the school system or the school that you're attending, you may have lack of resources. You may have not many students within your classes because of it not being heavily promoted. You may have, and due to that, not having the amount of students within your classes, you're now unable to network properly. But again, you still do have the opportunity to network with whoever is there. And that's a plus. I do believe the school gives you that. You automatically have to work with people to understand who's who and how you can get the best out of who's who, right? And they get the best out of you as well, if that makes sense. It's hard within the bachelor's program because, especially if you don't have the right resources, you're not able to then apply it properly or apply the knowledge that you do have because you're lacking resources. Let's say, for example, your school doesn't necessarily have the best lighting equipment or the state of art or the best or the top-notch lighting equipment. It now means that you're working with the smallest lighting equipment to do things that you can't necessarily get done, which would be a state-of-the-art film scene. However, the fact that they do have lighting equipment, you can still get something out of it. And my saying is, use what you have until you can't use it anymore, and then you level up, right? In some cases, it's hard to say that and then have the students not know certain things because of the lack thereof, right? So when they go in the field itself, it's a lot harder for them to grasp the concept because they didn't get it, they didn't learn it beforehand. So that's the only negative that I do see in doing the bachelor's. So the second thing is how to get into the industry. The film industry is it's large, but it's not large at the same time because everyone knows each other. I promise you, everyone knows someone who knows someone who knows someone. So if you do mess up, word of mouth, like that grapevine travels quite quickly. It's really putting yourself out there. I think if you do have a camera, you utilize it, like use it to the best of your ability. Like be as creative as possible to put out something that you can label as I directed this, or I edited this, or I AC'd this, or I helped with this. You get what I'm saying? Like just utilize that for people to then see that you're one, trying, and two, you have some creative mindset. I think that's how you'd also be able to, people kind of see your work, especially on Instagram and TikTok. You put it out there. And I'm saying this to say, like, this right here, I didn't want to do this video, but I'm doing this video because I want people to understand that this is not easy and you can do it too once you put your mind to it. I think a lot of us are comfortable. And we have to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations to then grow, to then be able to help others. And I think that's why we're here on this earth here. But that's besides the point. Another thing that I do believe you'd have to do to get in the industry is reaching out to people, stating that, hey, I have a camera, I'd love to work with you, here are some of my works. And how you present some of your work is by asking some of your friends, hey, help me out doing this thing. Let me get this done. Help me out with this. Let me go to the park real quick. Let's create a story. Let's talk about it. Let's sit down. Let's have some water, some crackers and tea, and just talk about an idea that could actually develop into a story for you to create, to then put out, and to then give people to say that this is a work that I have done, and I'd love to work with you to get another story done. I think that's essentially it. So you're now creating your own opportunity. No one's gonna hand something to you within this industry. Yes, no one's gonna do that. I'm sorry. That's not how the world works. I think a lot of people can help you, of course, but you have to put yourself in a position to be helped, right? You have to be out there. You have to show your face. You have to, no one's gonna shake your hand if you haven't extended your hand in the first place, right? No. So you have to do that. That's how I think you get in the industry, 100,000%, especially now. I think there's one thing that I also wanna state is that a lot of people are looking for persons who can do directing, photograph, audio. They can do audio. They're an audio specialist. They're a gaffer. A lot of people are looking for persons who can do it all because they don't want to pay the big bucks to then segregate or divide it into different people. That's what I'm realizing now. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I'd love to know, please. But that's what I've seen, that's what I've heard from other persons within the industry, 100,000%. Is this right here. What's the key in being successful within the industry as a film student? What's the key in being successful in this industry as a film student, as someone who is studying film, or someone who is trying to understand the nitty-gritties and the intricacies of this whole industry, which is not a very easy one to get into? I think the major key that would actually kind of unlock the door for you is networking, is knowing people. And I gave you the sauce earlier as to how to know people, like how to just reach out. It's almost like asking for an interview. Let me give you a story. So last summer, I had reached out to a great production company. They said they'd get back to me. I presented my work, and they didn't get back to me. However, they do know of me, which is cool. If I reach out to them again, I'm pretty sure they'll reevaluate some of the things or some of my work and say, all right, cool, let's work. Reaching out to people. I don't think you can lose, man. You can't lose. So the key to being successful within this industry, I do believe, is one, networking, and two, making the opportunity for yourself with the equipment that you do have. Again, you don't need a $5,000 camera. I said this in my video before. You don't need a $5,000 camera to accomplish great imagery. We've seen Lumix produce $2,000 a camera that can actually shoot cinema. I've shown you guys what the Lumix S5 2X can accomplish, and it's not a $5,000 camera. It's not a FX3, it's not a Sony Venice, it's not a Burano. However, you can create pretty images with the things you do have. I do believe those are the things to making film students successful. And I think it's working with the resources that you already have. You have friends, you have people who would love to do some crazy stuff with, you'd love to experiment with, you'd love to go outside with, you'd love to talk and create a story. And I think the most driving, the most beautiful force right now in this industry is story. And I'm learning that right now. It took me too long to learn that, but it is story. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's the truth as a film student. It's hard, but it's something that you have to work with. So I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Big up on yourself.